I finally understand why my aunt and uncle stopped caring when we were kids. Warning: some audiences may find this content disturbing. View at your own discretion. Welcome to the House of Reddit. Today, we share some recent r/confessions posted on Reddit. I finally understand why my aunt and uncle stopped caring when we were kids. I viewed my aunt and uncle as potential saviors who could swoop in and fix our fucked up family situation. The fact that they didn't made me indifferent to them, as if they were no more than people you pass through in life. Flash forward, I'm an adult. The bane of my existence has been my sister, who won't get her shit together. She just won't. No job, no sense of independence, no concern for how her lifestyle affects her kids, etc. She's a 15-yo trapped in a 30-something adult's body. My sister was staying with baby daddy too, and it was a toxic, fucked up relationship. I always tried to be Uncle Savior by doing grocery shopping and Christmas even when things were tight on my end. They ended up getting evicted, and then my sister had a medical crisis that required months of bed rest. I allowed her to stay with me. She seemed like she had a moment of clarity that her lifestyle can't continue or it will kill her. Last week she announced she was moving back into the house she, her kids and her baby daddy are being evicted from. She said she couldn't get her shit together at my place and could only do it at her place. I reminded her she was being evicted and she has never had her shit together. All she said was she was tired of people telling her what to do. It just hit me, she's a lost cause. I had a close call with my job, and the first thing I thought about was my sister and not being able to help her with $400 a month. Then I realized that if she won the lottery, then she probably wouldn't give me anything. So I have to cut the strings, emotionally and financially. I feel bad for my niece and nephew, but I can't do it anymore. I no longer think my aunt and uncle are assholes because this is what they dealt with when dealing with my mother. Traveling the world made me realize how racist everyone is. Between 2017 and 2019 I have visited 23 countries. I turned 18 in 2017 and am now 21. I understand that while I am very privileged to have been able to visit almost 24 nations and found more positive than negative in the experience, I also know there is still a lot of negative. For starters, I am a white guy who is partially Middle Eastern. You could say I am mixed because I look both, but I am 5th generation everything, so I don't speak any of my ethnic backgrounds. Myself, I have not experienced any racism, but can't even count how many times people ask my ethnicity or just assume. I don't think this is racism, but can be annoying when people make it the biggest deal. When I visited Dublin, Ireland, I stayed with a host off of a couchsurfing website. Before going to London, he had explained to me that London is more dangerous than Dublin and has more black people. In South Korea there was a guy I went on a date with. When I asked if he visited Japan ever, since I just came from there, and liked Japan or Japanese people, he told me that Koreans hate Japanese because of past conflicts. I remember having a Jordanian man and Indonesian woman ask me if I like black people while traveling as well. When I said yes, he immediately said I don't really like them. A drunk German who was hitting on me told me he didn't like Arabs and Turks in his country also. I also remember an Italian man who I was speaking to in French told me he didn't as well. What I'm getting at is you can really find racism everywhere and you can't hide from it. It's sad, but I think accepting it will always be present in the world is the most logical. I skimmed a quarter of nearly every cash-paying customer at McDonald's drive-thru. Back when I was in college, I worked full-time at McDonald's, around 7 or 8 years ago now. My state doesn't have its own minimum wage, so I was making $7.25 an hour and was having trouble meeting my half of the rent and bills and stuff. When I worked at my hometown's McDonald's, I was making a little over $8 an hour. But since there was no way to transfer my job to the city where I moved, they started me back at the minimum, which sucked, but I guess at least I was working. Anyway, so I was their go-to guy to run the drive-thru window, and I usually worked 8 or 9 hour shifts, where I would stay in that one spot all day except for my 30-minute break. It didn't bother me to not switch positions with anyone else because at the drive-thru window, I would make around $15 to $20 extra per day I worked. We had one of those automated coin changer machines connected to the register, so when I input what the customer paid, I would only have to count the bills and the coin changer would put the coins in a small cup next to the register. When I gave people their change, I would skim a quarter off of every cash payment that had a decent amount of coins. If it was just a couple coins, I wouldn't bother. Near the end of my shift, I would put the change in the register, if possible, and get the bills out. If it was too much, I'd save that in my coffee can piggy bank until it was enough to roll and deposit into my bank account. I did this for around a year and a half and only had one customer in that entire time actually notice that he was a quarter shy. I mean, most people don't check their coin change and just put it in their pocket or in the Ronald McDonald House donation thing. I never got caught and managed to stay on track with my bills until I found a better paying job, but there could have been more ethical ways of getting more money. At the time I couldn't care less, but stealing is wrong no matter how small, and even though it was spread between hundreds, or thousands of customers over that span of time, I managed to skim a pretty large amount of money over that time. I tipped myself around €350 from one of my previous employers. Way back before I graduated, I worked a couple of jobs mostly in retail. One of these jobs catering in trains. In the Netherlands we have two kinds of trains, one for short stops and one for big stops. The company I worked for would cater to the people in the trains by selling coffee, tea, soda and snacks. I worked at this company for around 3 years and I was good at it, even enjoyed it as far as retail goes. But after a year I asked for a raise as I had been daily top seller like 2 out of the 5 days I worked almost every week. They wouldn't give me a raise. One day they announced they would work with coupons. Buy a €2 coffee and get a cookie for free. The cookies were €2. We would get coupons to use when we were in the trains. One of the most wanted trains we had was the airport train. As most caterers would get a lot of tips from people wanting to drop their coins as they couldn't be swapped back for their own currency. Armed with cookies and coffee I would go in, but people didn't want to buy the combo. They were literally turning down a free cookie or a free coffee when refusing. I had an amazing day that day. I worked on the airport train and could do the same route 4 times that day, which meant already getting loads of tips. Then it hit me. If I would add coupons to my train wallet, I could get even more tips. So what I did was count out how many single items I had sold and add the coupons to my train wallet. After which I would add money to my own personal wallet. We never shared tips. I didn't realize how much I had gotten during the 3 weeks did this until I emptied out my wallet after the 3rd week. I counted it and found out I made about €350. I got scared for my job and decided to stop doing it. I still feel guilty about it. I stayed in hotels for free by signing people up for spam emails. I formerly worked as a receptionist in a hotel that was part of a huge hotel chain. We had departmental targets that we had to reach each day, which included signing up guests who were checking in for our loyalty program. Basically, if you were part of the program, you would earn points every time you stayed at a hotel in the chain and then be able to spend these points on benefits like discounts in the restaurants and free stays. Sounds like a good deal, but the downside is the constant barrage of spam emails from the hotel. To incentivize the receptionist to convince guests to sign up for the program, we would also earn some of these points that we could spend on the same benefits if we signed up a guest during a check-in. Persuading people to sign up for the program was a lot harder than you might think, so to create a win-slash-win situation for myself, I would take their email address from their check-in form and sign them up for the program without their knowledge, earn points and also meet the departmental goals. This was a major no-no from a company policy point of view, but kind of encouraged by my managers. Eventually I started to untick the box on their loyalty program resignation that would turn off the marketing spam emails, but I'm afraid a lot of people are probably still receiving those annoying marketing emails today. Eventually, after 2 years, I had signed up around 3,000 people and earned a lot of points using my devious methods and was able to stay in some very nice hotels. I shoplifted and sold what I stole outside the shop and made a fortune. So here in the UK, you have to be 16 years old to buy energy drinks. Me and my friends loved them, and the only shops that would sell them to under 16s was Pocky shops, but the problem was they were a lot more expensive there. We tried everything from pretending to be older than we were to asking older people to buy them, but it just didn't work that well, if at all. So one day we entered a store, and I was just like fuck it, and I lifted a can monster off the shelf and into my pocket. I was completely out of my comfort zone, and I told my friend, and he was shocked, but he also wanted a can one, so he took one and slipped it into his pocket as well. We then just walked around the store a couple times and left. It felt so good, the rush was amazing, and we were so happy that we found a way to get these drinks without being 16 or paying for them. So me and my friend were thinking that we could profit off of stealing energy drinks, Robin Hood style. We convinced ourselves that it wasn't bad to steal and sell the drinks for cheaper, as it was a big supermarket chain and they didn't deserve the money. So at school we would steal energy drinks, and anything people wanted we would steal and sell to them outside the shop. We made so much money it was insane, around £700 in 1 month, until it got so out of hand we were clearing the shelves in the drink aisle in only couple runs by just going in with an empty bag and filling it up with the energy drinks. It absolutely baffles me how the shop never knew what was going on, like it had to be suspicious because we did this almost every lunchtime. But of course there's always the people that ruin it for all, and someone snitched to the school, and I know who it was, but surprisingly we didn't get in any trouble at all because we said we were peer pressured into stealing a couple packs of sweets. They had no idea about the energy drinks, it was too easy to get away, but after that happened we stopped selling drinks, but we still steal sometimes for ourselves, and each time I still get that amazing rush that I so very much crave. I met a famous porn star on Omegle. Not a confession of guilt, but it's something I don't share with people. One night during my freshman year of college, I hopped on Omegle after a night of drinking. After some time of talking to few and skipping many, I matched up with this very attractive woman, no more than 5 years older than me. I was lucky enough for her not to skip me, and we just had a normal conversation. Eventually she asked what I do, and I told her I'm a student. She told me that her job is a little embarrassing. I of course asked her what it was and told her I wouldn't judge. She told me she worked in the adult entertainment industry, and eventually said she does porn. I was both shocked and unsurprised. Shocked that I was talking to a porn star while browsing Omegle, but unsurprised as she was very attractive and appeared to have a great body. I asked her what she was doing on this site, to which she told me that she just was bored and wanted to talk to people. I told her I was a bit drunk, but it was the same for me. Long story short, we ended up both without clothes, and you can figure out the rest. I couldn't believe that skinny 19-year-old me was sexting a real porn star. No, this was no bot, as we conversed for almost an hour beforehand. I did ask what her porn star name was on our call, but she was a little too embarrassed for me to look her up while we were on video call, understandably. After our little ordeal, I asked for her Snapchat, and she added me. I asked her that question again, in which she sent me a link to one of her popular videos with 16.5 million views at the time. Her porn name is Eliza Ibarra, but I now know her birth name too. Unfortunately we haven't talked/connected since that night, but boy was it a blast and quite the experience. I don't think I'll ever find the person I want to attract because I, 26 female, am a boring virgin with little experience. I've noticed that people who are similar usually stick together. I'm an almost 26-year-old virgin who's been a good girl my whole life and I hate it. I had a strict mom, so I wasn't allowed to do much when I was a teenager. I never got to experience underage drinking or smoking or going to parties and running from the cops. None of the friends I had did it either, so there wasn't much of an opportunity, so I don't have any fun stories to tell friends or anyone. I've never done drugs in my life. I drink occasionally and I'm a virgin. Never been in a real relationship. I can go into more detail about other things I'm inexperienced in, but I'm completely embarrassed. I have all the essential experience, I guess you can say. I have a steady job, I pay bills, I clean, I cook, even though I'm not good at it Lamau, but I still live with my parents because of school. People tell me I'm physically attractive even though I don't think so. I'm very introverted and not that social. People have always paid more attention to my extroverted friends instead of me because when I'm around it's like I'm not there. I never talk much because I don't have much to say. Overall I'm a boring person. I don't even know how I have friends who like me if I'm being honest. On the flip side, I'm very attracted to people who have done it all. I'm sexually attracted to girls who have had many sex partners and who go out all the time. I have this fantasy of my so being extremely experienced in everything I'm not, and they can bring me into their world and teach me things. A while ago I was talking to this girl who fit that description perfectly, and she said she was turned on by my innocence. It didn't work out with her for various reasons, and I doubt I'll meet someone like her ever again. I can't imagine an extroverted and sexually liberated person being turned on by an inexperienced virgin who's never done drugs. I don't believe in opposites attract. All the people I've been attracted to who are experienced people weren't into boring people like me. They preferred people like them who match their lifestyle, which makes sense, but at the same time it's disappointing because I don't have a chance. I'm not turned on by someone with the same experience level as me. Not that I think there's anything's wrong with it, it's just not my preference. It doesn't really tickle my funny bone to find things out with other inexperienced people. Finding a so with a slutty past is something that's going to fulfill me because I've dreamed about it nearly all my life and I can't settle for anything else. But at the same time I doubt I'll ever find it. If you enjoy this video, please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please let us know in the comments below. Turn on the notifications to know when we post new videos. Thank you for coming to the House of Reddit.